think that America could actually be run by one of the 1%. And Mitt Romney isn't even the 1%. He's the 0.2%. That's how rich he is. So to believe that anyone would want to vote for someone who's been part of the problem, whose job was literally to be like what's his name in Pretty Woman, to be Richard Gere's character or Gordon Gekko, is beyond belief. But that's what happens when Wall Street, takes over the government.
I don't know about you. I'd rather have Gordon Gekko than Mitt Romney or Obama.
Yeah, well, Gordon Gekko is, he's the old school criminal. He really just wanted to make a few bucks for himself, whereas opposed to the new criminals literally want to destroy the world. And, I would take a guy who's a capitalist at heart over a guy who's well, I don't even know if he's a communist at heart. I think these are just sociopaths.
Yeah, it's irrelevant. The label's irrelevant, but it makes me think of poor Bernie Madoff there sitting in jail, rotting away, and his talents are going totally unused, totally waste.
Well, he's obsolete.
Right? Old Bernie. But not that he wasn't a sociopath, but at least, I don't know, he had a better way of speaking about things, and he was more optimistic. Even if he was a con man, at least he was optimistic. I haven't heard any optimism from anyone in so long that I'm longing for the days of Bernie Madoff.
Yeah, well, I talk about, back when I was on Wall Street, I know when the markets were taken over by the bad guys. Obviously, 9/11 was a big part of that, but that was different because everyone knew that the government would be in buying stocks right after that. I'm talking about when WorldCom and Enron went under, which was both around 2002, and I saw the markets plummeting, and both of them ended the day up with furious rallies. I remember those were the days when that was considered a free market, and those were considered big scandals back then, and I laugh thinking about people who lost their money with Enron. Enron was nothing. We're talking about Bernie Madoff made Enron look like nothing, and Bernie Madoff is a pimple right now compared to what's going on.
Yeah, a little bit disconcerting, but that's the way systems work. That's the way they break down over time. That's the way power shifts, and countries go from more free to less free, and at the same time, other countries go from less free to more free. All we could do is hope that whenever this collapse occurs, somehow there's this mass consciousness uplifting and people understand why it happened, that government and industry, especially the financial industry, being in bed together just is about the worst thing that you can ever imagine, and inevitably winds up with decreased freedoms and on the road to totalitarianism.
Yeah, well, they'll get it. They'll get it when it happens. Unfortunately, the time to get it is before it happens. And I don't think more than a tiny percent are going to. I do my best, as you do, to try to get anyone who might possibly have an open mind to look at reality. But it's very, very hard. And I the history shows that most people will go down with the ship.
It is a process, though. More and more people, I get the emails, a lot of people, even my oldest friend, Jeff, buying gold and silver. And that's what people need to do, because that is the ultimate protest vote. Buying gold and silver, withdrawing from the corrupt monetary system that is out to enslave you, regardless how well off you might think you are, how free you might think you are. The monetary system will eventually enslave us all.
I agree.
So on that note, Ann, do we have one other thing we wanted to talk about?
Was it Spain?
Oh, jeez. We get off on these tangents. So we have Spain. We have all their banks downgraded because there's been a bank run there that nobody is talking about, of course. And every country in Europe is heading towards recession. But honestly, they're heading towards depression, just like the U.S., just like Asia. It's a global depression, right?
Yeah, and I think about a month ago, it became pretty clear to me that Spain was going to be the next one up. In fact, mean, I can't believe they're actually going to pass over Portugal, but it looks like they are. They announced their recession today. They announced on Friday 25% unemployment. That's not the fake number. That's the one they actually publish. And they also had all their banks downgraded. If you look at Santander, which is the biggest bank in all of the Eurozone, it's plumbing its lows from 2008, 2009. I don't think, and if you also, I recommend, there's an article called The Pain in Spain. It's by John Malden, who I happen to not be a big fan of, but he really puts together very well some of the charts showing the unemployment and the housing bubble and the lack of regulation in banks. I think that nation, I don't think they have more than a month before something dramatic occurs as far as a bailout or some kind of government collapse.
And it really is a beautiful country to go to. I don't know about right now, if you're not into protests and demonstration and watching banks get burned down. Well, maybe that part is worth being a tourist for, to watch them burning down the banks, because maybe you can learn something.
Greece is a beautiful place too, and nothing's more beautiful than Italy, but it's very sad. So
they're going to be doing the same thing in Italy and the same thing all over France eventually.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize that Italy is basically the third most indebted nation in the world. They're basically tied with Germany. And it's absolutely astounding because Italy is the 8th largest economy in the world, and it's the 23rd largest population. Yet they've managed to amass the 3rd largest debt right after the U.S. and Japan. That shows how badly this nation is. And frankly, I'm in shock that they somehow are, I think the only reason that they haven't been the first pig to go is because they're kind of protected. Everyone wants to protect them, but when they go, they're going to go spectacularly, because it's just hard to believe the corruption and stupidity in a government could get that much debt for a country that small. Well,
I want to see the day come. They always said you could buy a good suit of men's clothes for an ounce of gold throughout history, but a Brioni suit is now about 3 or 4 ounces of gold. So I want to see those Brionis go back to the price they should be at.
Right. Well, fortunately, I don't have to wear a suit too often anymore. And
well, I'm doing video now, Andy, so I have to wear a suit and a tie, or at least a jacket and a tie, and perhaps pants are optional. I could be wearing shorts, a jacket, and a tie. No one will know the difference, right?
All right, so half a suit.
Exactly. On that note, milesfranklin.com. I'm a customer. So's my assistant, Catherine. And if you got any questions, just go to the site, click Andy's blog, and great up-to-the-date information. I look at it daily. FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com to hear this interview and the dozens of other ones I've done with Andy and so many other financial experts around the world. Till next week, Andy.
Till next week, Harry.
Be well.